In this video, we'll be taking a quick look at the Aleyant Pressero Automated Workflow Integrator, or AWI for short. AWI's purpose is to run on your desktop and look for new orders or jobs that have come into your Pressero account, download them, and place them into your own workflow that you have within your printing shop. This video will not cover every aspect of AWI. Its purpose is just to give you a brief overview so you can jump in and get started. When we first start AWI, we're prompted to put in our credentials. These are actually going to map back to an admin user account that you've defined in Pressero. It's really important that the account be properly licensed by Aleyant's support team. You see that I also need to put in my admin URL. This is the URL that I use to log into the Pressero admin interface. It defaults to the Chicago instance, so if you're using one of our other data centers, such as Amsterdam or Singapore, you'll need to change this URL. You also have the option to check this box down here to remember your credentials, which can be very helpful so you don't need to type this in every time you fire up AWI. Once I've entered the information, I'm going to click the Connect button here, and it will verify that it has connectivity to the Pressero servers. At this point, we're going to put our focus here on this Download Rules tab, and we don't have any rules set up, so we're going to go ahead and click this plus sign and define a rule. We can have as many rules as we need to. We have multiple tabs that we're going to look through to configure. We're going to start off here under the rule name, and we're just going to, for the sake of simplicity, create one rule that just downloads everything. More typically, you'll create a number of rules to download different types of files in order to properly route them to the right devices or workflow solutions or the right people within your company. After I've entered a name, I can select a file name pattern. The default is to grab PDF and PS files. We'll just keep that there. We can select a rule type. The first is catch-all, which means grab everything. We do have a way to provide better filtering though. We could filter and just grab files from orders from certain sites, files for orders for certain products, files for orders from certain users, files for products that have certain attribute values that you've defined in Pressero, or it could be based on orders that are associated with a certain location that you have. Up here, I'm going to click this Download tab. This is what allows us to actually download the files. You'll see it's checked by default as this is the most common configuration. We have the ability to download to the system path. We also, if we've defined FTP connections, we can have jobs automatically route to those FTP locations. I'm going to select a local file path here. So when I click that, it gives me this browse window, and I'm going to select a folder on my local computer. However, this could just as easily be a network path. Perhaps it's a hot folder to one of your output devices. On this next tab, we have control files. Control files are basically the additional files that would go along with the actual print files that tell workflow devices how to properly configure themselves to handle the file. Typically, these are JDF files. Depending on the vendor, they could be XML or text file. You'll see from the list they are all vendor specific as they all have their own nuances. So if you want to take advantage of that, you'd be able to select one, and then you'd be able to say where you want to save that file. For the sake of simplicity, we are not going to enable this option right now. Queuing is a new capability we've introduced in version 2. If I wanted to enable queuing, this would give us the ability to hold jobs that we processed and release them all at once. This can be really helpful for production efficiencies. For example, if you want to collect business card orders, release them all at once so that you can gang them together on a larger press sheet, this would be very helpful to you. If I enable queuing, you'll see I have a lot of different ways that I can define when those jobs should be released. The first option is based on the number of unique jobs or order items. So let's say, for example, I want to wait until I get 10 business card orders. I would put in 10. I can always override that with a maximum number of hours. So for example, let's say I'd like to get 10, but I never want to wait more than 48 hours. I'd just be able to put that in. The next rule is fairly similar. It's instead of being based on unique jobs, it's based on the total quantity. So let's say I want to wait until I have at least 750 business cards to ordered in order to print, I could put 750, and then the system doesn't care if it's one order for 750 or 3 orders for 250. It's just looking at the total quantity ordered. Like that first option, we have the ability to set a maximum number of hold hours. We also have the ability to hold and release based on the number of hours, daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Let's say, for example, I did the daily basis. I would just choose which time each day I wanted to release all those jobs that have been collected. I'm going to disable that for the sake of simplicity. We also have the ability to change the status of orders within Pressero after AWI has successfully downloaded the file and placed it in the appropriate folder. So let's say, for example, I want to change the status of every order to press after I've downloaded it. I would just be able to change that very quickly here. This allows me to know that the status has changed without having to go into the Pressero admin and manually making that change. In the Options tab, we have a lot of different ways to create folders and subfolders and dynamically rename the file based on information provided. I encourage you to take a look at our support documentation to learn how to use these options more effectively. The last tab here gives us the ability to create important reports from Pressero, create them automatically as a PDF file, and place them wherever we want them. I'm going to say that I'd like the order detail report as well as the pick list report. And I'm going to set my folder here to go to this folder right here. This one I'm going to get save, and we see that we now have a rule here. As mentioned previously, you can create as many rules as you need to, and they will be treated in a hierarchical manner, meaning that rules near the top will be evaluated first. So if a file or an order matches that first rule, subsequent rules will not process it unless you've indicated otherwise. At this point, I can either wait for AWI to automatically process, or if I wanted to kick things off manually, I can click this process button here. And you see that it's going out and it's found some orders and it's doing some processing here. And I can tell that it's doing both file downloads as well as creating reports, and it is now finished. If I take a look at my processed items folder, I can see that it processed 4 order items here, and it will never process these again unless I click the requeue button. So let's say, for example, we had a problem with this particular business card order. If I wanted to, I would just click this requeue option right here, click the process button, and AWI would go out and grab that again and reprocess it. Also, if I'm using the queuing capabilities, I can always check to see which items are queued and waiting release. They'll be listed here. Since we're not using queuing, we don't see any options there right now. If you'd like to learn more about AWI, please visit support.aleyant.com. Thank you.